It's time to move the Cider House Select Cranberry Apple or Apple Cranberry cider to the keg so we can carbonate it. We're going to do three things. One, I'm adding plain Knox gelatin. I know it sounds kind of weird, but you can get any kind of gelatin you want, unflavored. Don't recommend flavored unless you're going for something that you're going for. A little pressurized from all the hot water. It wasn't cleared out or anything. All I did was sterilize it. Some PBW, cleaned it out really good, then star sand it, cleaned it out. What I'm doing is I took the gelatin, added just a hair under a teaspoon in here. They recommend a teaspoon per 5 gallons. I've done half teaspoons and had really good results, so I decided I'd go just a hair under, a little more than 3/4, probably about 7/8 of a teaspoon. And you heat it up 10 seconds, 15 seconds at a pop. I usually do 10 seconds because my microwave's pretty powerful. Until it's clear, or at least semi-clear there. I don't see any floating particles, okay? And what we're gonna go ahead and do too is we're gonna add sweetener. I like dry. This is bone dry at 998. So basically 1 is water, this is drier than water. If I remember, yeah, 1 is water, this is 0.998. So I'm gonna try to measure this about half, simply tearing it open. I don't wanna sit and measure it with a scale or anything like that and contaminate it. Just gonna kind of, call it eye it, wing it. Can't remember what this is. It is an artificial sweetener. I'm not a big fan. I've been looking at the forums and pretty much everybody is saying, even if they're not a fan of the sweeteners, they just don't taste this, which is funny because I can't stand stevia. I want to, but I can't stand it. But I have had things where stevia is added to it and there's enough of other things in it flavor-wise that I don't taste it. I don't notice it, nothing. Okay, come on. Trying to get it to kind of dissolve a little bit. Go faster. There we go. Okay, we got a little left in there. Got some spring water here. Use it to clean after star sand because star sand can leave things a little sticky with the concentrations I use. Okay, reason I do that, it's going to cool down really fast. Less chance of it doing any kind of weird issues. This one I find hilarious. That's the cranberry flavoring. And I love cranberries, but they're red. How do you make clear flavoring? That's a little bizarre to me. Sterilize it here. Well, where'd it go? Where'd it go? There it is. My scissors keep getting used for everything and anything. I've got really good scissors I bought not long ago. But sadly, because they get used for anything and everything, and I'm not a person that has ever tried to really sharpen professional grade scissors, I have not attempted. Razor blade works every time. Okay, and we're simply going to pour the cranberry, which has an insane amount of cranberry smell, right on in there. I know they say don't fear the foam when it comes to star sand, but I'm sorry, I figure we all consume enough chemicals in our food. I'm not going to just leave it in there. I always rinse it. That's on the outside. I'm not too worried about that. Now all we're going to do is simply move the apple cider, which is a red apple cider, over here. But we got to do two things. One, well, of course, we got to put the lid back on if I can remember where I set it. On the paper towel. So we're nice and clean. Okay, so we're going to seal this bad boy up. There we go. We have our gas point over here. Simply going to take this. This is from our, if you'd seen a previous video or another video, this was our dry, very dry Irish stout. Really great, about 5.4%. But I need more room. And no one seems to drink a lot of dark beers except for people at my day job. And due to this lovely virus, I'm not going back and forth to the day job except if I have to grab certain things or take care of things, but there's not really anybody there. So my wife posted all of the Irish stout I bottled using a really nice bottling system and on Facebook, and a lot of her friends came over and got a nice little 6-pack of Irish stout. Feel free to hook them up. My beer fridge was maxed out. I have no more room. I have no more room in the kegerator, and I have 3 kegs inbound. This, a Mangrove Jack's IPA, and a Pliny the Elder. Okay, so we've purged all the oxygen. All I've done here is I've turned this on. I'm running water from here to here into this keg. This keg is just collecting water. What we're gonna do, this is so simple. It is insane. Love this little pump. It has saved me so much time. What we're doing is we're minimizing the amount of oxygen getting in, because oxygen's not gonna push all the CO2 out. The CO2 is heavier, it's gonna sit here, we're fine. We're gonna introduce a tiny bit, but nothing to really impact it. And we're gonna minimize that impact massively by doing this. And try to get some of that hot water from dripping all over the place. I'm kind of one of those pennies. If you see something floating around in here, I'll kick it over to the side for you, let you see it. It's a tilt hydrometer. That's how I know it's at 0.998 or 0.998. So what we do is we kick this on, we're gonna watch the tube turn kind of reddish, and we're gonna stop it. Bring it on over here, kick this on, and then of course, I always have a habit of forgetting certain things, but it's within arm's reach. Okay, most of it is within arm's reach. We'll take this. It's one of those duo-typed relief valves. It is not the one with the PSI measurement, or gauge, should I say. What it does is there's a little ball in there. And that little ball will slam to the top if liquid comes in, keeping it from spraying everywhere. It will sometimes squirt a little bit out. I probably should get the one with the gauge, and you could probably hear the air coming out. And we're all good. We're gonna kick the pump on. Looks like it's a rosy red color. Looks incredibly clear. So I don't think that gelatin is gonna have much work to do, which is fine. But cider doesn't last long around this house. Between me and my oldest, cider goes very quickly. The last one we had was a mangrove jack cider, and it was actually a apple cider with a little bit of passion fruit, which I really didn't notice most of the time, and peach, which is very nice. I saw my local grocery store has some Honeycrisp half-gallon bottles for about $3.59. Figured, I added that up. You're talking $7, 7 times 5 for a 5-gallon batch. It's about $35. That's about what I pay for these bags of condensed apple cider. But then I'm also wondering maybe I should do 4 gallons, add a gallon of just plain water to bring it down a little bit, and add a little bit more cornstarch to dry it out a bit. Looks like we've got a tiny bit of leakage there. Not sure why or how, but hey, that's why we have a tool. Tighten it up a little bit. Okay, that's insane. That is so tight I don't have a clue how that could be leaking. I like these stainless steel disconnects. I can't say they're perfect though. I've had a few issues if they're not perfectly tight, and I mean perfectly tight. If they're loose even a little bit, you will have a little bit of leakage. The nice thing is that if you have a kegerator that closes about here, you're fine. If you're using this type that points up, your tube's coming down and your kegerator is going to hit it, which I've had up on the upper side where I have 2 more kegs out of the 7 kegs that can fit in there. I know, sounds like a bad problem, 7 kegs, but try to maximize the space. When you build something that fits perfectly in your bar, you want to maximize space. If I got anything any bigger in here, I wouldn't be able to get the CO2 in easily, and I wouldn't be able to move it around when I need to, or clean around it. It's difficult enough as is. I'm not a mechanical person or a builder stuff person. When I look at something, and I go to build something, I look at how much space do I have and how do I fill it. It's good and bad. The fermenter is huge. Good and bad. I have a lot of space. What can I say? A little later, we're going to move the Mangrove Jack's IPA number 1 to the dry hopping keg with dry hops, and I'll show you how we do that. And then the Pliny the Elder still got about a week of aging before I move it over to dry hop, just because it's still bubbling just a little bit. So it's definitely got a few more points to burn off on the fermentation. And that's a big beer, so it's hard to make that very dry. So I'm not expecting it to be really dry, more just on the drier side. I don't want something really sweet. And remember, when we get towards the end, what we're going to do is we're going to tilt it, and that tilt's going to allow the liquid coming over here. The sediment on this is pretty solid. I've knocked it around and kind of went, and thought it was going to move around, and I have yet to see that sediment move, which is a good thing. Doesn't mean it's not going to, with a vibrating metal shaft right on top of it. Because this thing, as it's pumping, it is vibrating. Very likely, but you can feel it vibrating. And I don't have the steadiest of hands, of course, so what we're going to do, once we get this done, I'm going to put it in, get some pressure on it, siphon off maybe a gallon of it to my son, and put that under about 30 psi and see if we can't quick carbonate that. He's been asking at least twice a week. The cider ready? The cider ready? Okay, here we go. close to the tipping point. Smells really good. It smells like red apple. It does not smell like just straight apple smell. It's definitely a red apple smell, so I don't think it's a coloring. I think they really use red apples and part of the skin, quite a bit of the skin to get some of the red coloring. Hey, we're almost to the end. Another nice thing with a keg and a pump like this is you only need one person to do this. It doesn't require a bunch of hands. Say it wouldn't be helpful, but not needed. Bend down a little bit so you can get a little sight on this. Oh, we're definitely good. This sediment is doing really well. I definitely saw it stir up a tiny bit, but that gelatin will grab whatever little bit gets out. And let me take this out and show it to you here. A little disgusting, a little gunk of apple stuff. You can see the sediment. It's very thick and stuck down there, kind of gunky. A little spot was where we had the wand, but it's not much loss, which is great. Okay, let's get it carbonated. Okay, we finally finished fermenting our red apple with cranberry from Cider House Select. This is a peach mango we're looking to do later. I added the sweetener, or decided to finally throw in all the sweetener. I definitely like a drier cider. But this is carbonated now, we can take a quick sip. It's nice, I like it drier. And I'm not comparing apples to apples, no pun intended. The Mangrove Jack cider I had before, I liked better. I'm hoping that this one with the peach mango is much more like the Mangrove Jack, which was a peach, or a pear, peach and passion fruit. This is, from what I understand, is an apple peach mango. So. A little burst of carbonation there in the beginning. It's because I kind of quick carbed it. We'll give it a quick second. You can see the excessive carbonation. So what happens when instead of waiting 2 weeks, you hit it with 30 psi, and about 4 days later, 5 days later, you're ready to go. Yeah, that's good. A little early in the night. Very, very beautiful ruby red look. Very, very pretty color. Smells really good. You smell the apple, but the cranberry kind of is a little more overbearing because it just kind of adds that tart smell. Remember, we did a 6-gallon batch and a 5-gallon. So we've kicked the alcohol up. It still has a nice dryness to the aftertaste, but other than that, definitely sweet up front. It uses a artificial sorbitol, I believe, sweetener. Reason is it's non-fermentable. It's only a tiny bit, and there's natural sugars in there too that are not fermented through, so you don't really taste that funky aftertaste. I can tell what I think about it, but otherwise I don't notice it. If I had to do it again, I would probably do it straight dry, no sweet. I just prefer dry, and I'm finding out my oldest who enjoys things like this likes it dry too. So, Cider House Select, red apple with cranberry, definitely a winner. Definitely would go dry next time. Need to find two that are identical flavors between Mangrove Jacks and Cider House and kind of compare them, see how they do. Thank you again for joining Bitter Reality Brewing. Don't forget, subscribe, like, leave us a comment if you have questions, concerns, you want us to review something, anything like that, let me know. Thank you again for joining us.